What is up, YouTube, and welcome to the Extra Point episode 44. I am Hunter along with Nick. How are you doing, Nick?
Well, Hunter, as always, I'm doing extremely well. Nothing short of that, nothing greater than that. Well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
I
Doing
didn't care.
great.
That's why I didn't
Well, I mean,
ask. So,
yeah, I figured you didn't.
yeah.
All right, let us begin this episode. Here we are joined with Kanyon. Kanyon, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Just chilling.
Doing the quarantine thing, just chilling, not doing a damn thing. We are here with Kanyon. He's going to be predicting the Carolina Panthers draft class from 2 to 7. We'll chime in. Kanyon is very smart when it comes to this kind of thing, so he knows a lot more than me and Nick here. I know the needs, but the players coming from rounds 2 to 7, I have no fucking clue, so he's going to take the helm on that. But all you Panther fans out there, listen closely because I have a feeling Kanyon might get some of these right. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Pressure's on now, man.
Pressure's on. I'm putting it all on
Get them
you.
all right.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, this is so obviously just a little thing out there. This is definitely like committing career suicide trying to predict any of these because it's kind of hard. But I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna touch a lot on round 2, and then just kind of throw some names out there with some needs that we might need in the later rounds and stuff like that. Got a lot of round 2 stuff, but obviously after that it becomes like it's pretty much impossible to pick after that. So
Well, a lot of analysts come out. They do the first round and then that's it. After that, it's just whatever goes.
Mel Kiper gives up after the first round.
Yeah.
no Piper gives up after the second pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have our second round. I'm going to throw out some needs for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, they need a defense. You can't really narrow it down, just a
narrow it
defense
down,
in general.
yeah.
I would go definitely they need a strong safety, another corner, and some defensive lineman presence. Obviously, I think in the first round they need to go after Isaiah Simmons. Hopefully he's still there and the Chargers don't take him. I don't think the Giants will, but the Chargers, I'm a little iffy on them. I hope they don't take him, but I'm looking for Isaiah Simmons. And then obviously in the offensive spot, we need some linemen, specifically guards. Since we picked up Russell Okung, we have Taylor Moton on the right side, Okung on the left. The left guard position is kind of wide open. So, and then also in the later rounds, I think you might touch up on this, Kanyon. I would like a tight end because Ian Thomas is not the answer for tight end after Greg Olsen departs.
Yeah.
So what do you got for us in the second round?
Well, so first off, I would just like to say like, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. I think we might I'm just going to cross my fingers with Dave Gettleman, who claims to like his big boys, his hog mollies, and he's going to draft an offensive lineman to protect his new franchise quarterback and his new franchise running back. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, go for like a offensive tackle there or something. So he keeps his paws off Isaiah Simmons. I think we might be safe with the Chargers because as they have made it clear that they're sticking with Tyrod Taylor, I would be very surprised if they didn't draft a quarterback in the first round because, Tyrod Taylor is a veteran. He's kind of older. It would be very beneficial to just go ahead and draft a quarterback right here and then just develop him under Tyrod Taylor for like a few games or a season or so. Like someone like Justin Hubert from
Herbert.
Those guys. Yeah, Herbert, yeah. Or Jordan Love, even though he's like the big question mark of if he's going to go in rounds either 1, 2, 3, or 4. But
even 2 is up there too.
Yeah, and 2 is definitely. I've heard
Jalen
that.
Hurts.
I don't see Tua getting taken before. I mean, I don't see Tua getting taken before Justin Herbert. Honestly, I think Tua probably fits the Chargers scheme a little better than Justin Herbert does anyway.
Yeah, no, he was rated as like the best like quarterback fit for any scheme, and it was Tua to the Chargers. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and dive into that. So we'll going back on the needs. So I think Ian Thomas could develop into a decent tight end. It kind of depends on his development as a blocker. I think he's a decent route runner. He's obviously a very athletic guy. He started playing college ball late. I believe he was a basketball player before, and I think he started playing his junior and senior year in football. So he's still kind of like a raw developmental guy. But he definitely showed a few, he was like what you expect out of a raw guy. He showed some flashes and he showed some things that you really didn't want to see. I would say I'd want to see him get more physical, but as far as like a athleticism and route running, I'd say he did pretty decent on that end. But I definitely would not mind seeing the Panthers draft a tight end in this draft, especially because this is a pretty good tight end class, honestly. And I don't know when I've ever said that there's been such thing as a good tight end class. It seems pretty deep, honestly.
Right.
But yeah, so I would definitely say this is a big focus on defense in this draft for sure. Because to be completely honest, if you think about last year, if the Panthers would have actually had a good quarterback, which Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, their offense would have been very well. Like they would have been firing on all cylinders. Plus, you would add Robbie Anderson into the mix, and also we probably do need at least one guard because I actually expect Taylor Moton to drop back down to guard because that's what we originally drafted him as, and he played a season as guard, and we moved him to tackle.
I wanted him to play guard last year, but obviously the Panthers had different. So I wanted Darrell Williams to be at left tackle, Paradis to be center, Trey Turner, and then actually, well, I could see Van Roten wasn't too bad, but they had Taylor Moton at right tackle. I would be happy with that too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he could play guard too. I'm not sure what they're going to do though.
Yeah, I definitely see them moving. They would probably put Greg Little or Dennis Daly out at tackle, and then probably move Moton down the guard. Or they might also take one of those two guys and put them down at guard as well. I don't really know. I believe Dennis Daly is actually a little bit flexible in where you can play him, if I'm not mistaken. I know Greg Little's like he's a tackle through and through.
Right.
So yeah, I would expect. I wouldn't be shocked to see us take a guard like in the later rounds, but I don't really know if that's an early round priority for us, as our defense at this current moment is a revolving door. So because we basically have, we have Quan Short, who's a great player when he's not hurt, but the issue is he always gets hurt. He's a phenomenal player outside of that though. And then we have Shaq Thompson, obviously, which means that our linebacker isn't really like a big need, but when you have someone like an Isaiah Simmons, it's someone that you like. He might be a generational player for his athleticism shows that he might be.
My question would be for both of y'all is where does it start though? Like where do you guys look for offensive linemen first, or are you going to want to look at defense? Personally for y'all too, not what are you going to do?
Defense? I'm going to look for defense first because defense, I mean, we went to the 3-4 this year and we were going to bounce back from 3-4 to 4-3. Obviously, it didn't work. And that also hinders on injuries, too. Kawan Short, when he's healthy, he's the whole defensive line. And him being out all of last year, you saw it, and you saw it in the rushing numbers. We had the worst rushing defense in the NFL. So I think drafting Isaiah Simmons is putting another Kuechly right beside Shaq Thompson. I mean, he's a generational player. He can back into coverage. He's a good tackler, run stopper, does everything. You get a defensive lineman to back up Kawan Short because currently we really don't have another one. All we have is Kawan Short on the defensive line. So get another defensive lineman. And the secondary is a fucking piece of shit fucking thing on the roster as well. I mean, we don't have Dick.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kanyon.
Yeah, it's just the secondary is kind of a nightmare at this point. Obviously, Dante Jackson has the tools to develop into a great player if he kind of gets the mental side of it a little bit, as we kind of seen. Like he has a few mental lapses during games, which causes him to get burnt. But obviously, at athletic ability and about 85 to 90% of the game, he does phenomenal. It's just those few plays, and obviously, you've probably heard growing up playing football, it's like those 5 or 6 plays a game that really make the difference in a game. And he just so happens to kind of give up one each game.
Yeah.
So if he figures that part out, I think he would be phenomenal. But like even if he does, we still need another guy beside him. So yeah, definitely look into secondary is a really, really big need. I would say if anything on our defense is solid, it would be the linebacker spot, but it wouldn't hurt to add another great player like an Isaiah Simmons. But I'd definitely say these later round picks will probably prove to be more pivotal than the first round because Marty Herney has done phenomenal in the first round. Like every single time he's been GM, just look. You can look like Cam Newton, Julius Peppers in the past, Chris Gay. Like all these guys have ended up being very good players, but he struggles to find the late round gems or anything past the first round. Honestly, like the only ones that come to mind are he found Josh Norman, Greg Hardy, and then there was another guy I had in mind too. But there's just a few of those guys, and he's really bad at drafting the later rounds. So this can prove to be these can prove to be extremely important picks because his track record and the fact that we're drafting at 7 will prove that like it's almost kind of hard to mess up that first round pick It's just gonna kind of be whoever falls to us at that point, and they're all phenomenal players.
The best available.
Yeah.
So another question then would be, we never really asked how you felt about Teddy Bridgewater. So being you guys have such an early pick, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the draft. You don't think they could easily draft a young quarterback and pull, like you said, with the Chargers and kind of let him develop behind Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah, I would just say, I don't really know if that would happen just because, Russell Okung actually came out yesterday and said, I didn't come to Carolina to rebuild. I came here because they want to win. So I know, obviously, no team will really ever admit to rebuilding unless you're the Dolphins.
Yeah.
No one's going to, come out and say that. But it seems like, at least from that quote, that they seem to want to be focused on winning. And winning right now would be focusing on drafting a defense, especially because Teddy Bridgewater he's not the youngest quarterback out there, but I think he's, 27 years old, I believe, something around there. Yeah. And he also hasn't, given he had a really bad injury in the past. But he has had a little bit of time, not taking as many hits because he didn't have to be the starter. And he's proven to be a winning quarterback. I believe he's won, I think, around double the games that he's lost in his NFL career that he started. He's a winning guy. Just that game manager type of quarterback where it follows the philosophy of if you don't turn the ball over, then it helps you win games. Helps you win games a lot when your quarterback doesn't turn the ball over. And he's not going to wow you like how Cam Newton was a walking highlight reel, but I think he'll get the job done to where I don't think we need to look at a quarterback early on. I could see maybe I wouldn't be upset with a 4th or 5th round guy and trying to take a chance and throw a dart on someone to see if they could end up developing into a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really go there early. And I guess we can go ahead and dive in now to the second round.
Yeah.
So
good. With
the second round picks, I would definitely look for them to go into the defensive backfield. There's a lot of this is a very, very weird class for this because it's very the cornerbacks are very top heavy, it seems like, but it also seems like they're very deep as well. But there's a huge gap in between Okudah and CJ Henderson with the rest of the class. However, the rest of the class is also pretty deep. So you look at guys and I'm going to mess this name up. I know how to pronounce it, but Noah Igbenogany from Auburn. I think I said that okay.
Close enough.
He's a tremendous player from Auburn. So he's a smaller corner, which might be problematic in the division like the NFC South, where you have Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, and Julio Jones to play throughout the year and stuff like that. So, and Dante Jackson isn't big. He's very small. So you would think that we kind of need a bigger corner, someone who's at least 6 foot, over 200 pounds or so. But so he's actually he's 5'10" and he's 198. He's he's a tad bit smaller, but he plays a lot bigger than he actually is. He's pretty physical. I watched a few tapes. He's very good in bump and run coverage. He makes tackles when called upon and stuff like that. And he actually was a wide receiver that was transitioned to corner. So he's kind of still has a little bit of he's like putty. You can still kind of mold him a little bit if you get him with a good defensive backs coach. Fast guy, ran a 4.48 40. And also on NFL.com, they gave him a 6.29 rating, which means that he's basically kind of fringe. They think he's going to be a starter within his first 2 years or be a very good backup within his first 2 years. But when I kind of watched him, I think he could definitely be a playmaker. He's a very quick and fast guy, and obviously it seems like he has a pretty quick learning curve, being that he only switched from wide receiver to corner pretty recently. And he was able to play in a division or in a conference like the SEC and thrive in it. Being one of the better players on defense in that conference. And then he's a very intriguing prospect for me. Another guy that I look at is Jalen Johnson from Utah. So obviously, the competition may or may not be there depending on who you ask. The Pac-12 is probably one of the lower level of D1 the Power 5 conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
But Utah was a top 10 team. They were a team that almost made it to the playoffs later in the year, and Jalen Johnson was a really big part of that. Their defense was very successful, and it was large part due to he was able to usually just kind of shut down receivers. He plays with a bunch of swagger, and it's very obvious. I've read some reports that he seems like he very much embraces the challenge of the fact that he might look stupid in front of the entire student body. because he's on an island out there, but he embraces the challenge. Like he knows that, and he plays with like a swagger because of it. He has really great ball skills. He was really good at like punching balls out and stuff like that. Right as the receiver was catching them, just kind of getting a hand in there and everything. And there is like he's one that I studied probably more than a few other, like a lot of the other people. There were a few times though where he actually kind of reminds me of a Dante Jackson, not quite as athletic as he runs like a 4.5 40. So he's not like I think Dante Jackson was like a 4.31. Yeah, he was lightning quick. But he would kind of have like mental lapses where there were a few plays. I think I can remember one from the USC game and maybe one from the Oregon game where he just got toasted. And I don't think it was anything to do with his lack of athletic ability. It was just it was just a brain thing. He just like kind of had a brain fart or something, forgot about his coverage, and the guy just got right behind him and toasted him. But like other than those few plays, which again that could be fixed by a good defensive backs coach, he was very, very well. He was very well. He was very impressive to watch. Obviously, too, Pac-12, competition, But when he played that game against Colorado against Laviska Schultz, that freak wide receiver from Colorado, he did pretty well in guarding him. However, he did get hurt in the game, so there's not much film on that game. But at least the few plays that I did see, he did a decent job guarding him, and he was probably the best receiver in the Pac-12, maybe. So he's someone I'd look. He's a 6 foot guy.
6 foot, okay. Because like you said in the touch up on the previous corner, I mean that's a big thing for me stature wise. Because DJ Moore, when the big games the big plays that he gives up, he does get mossed a pretty good amount of times. Just because I mean he's a short guy, so I'm looking for a big stature quarterback and not a Marcus Peters that can't tackle worth a shit.
Now you tell me, Kanyon, are these guys worthy to come in and be a number one cornerback on the Panthers this year as rookies?
I think for sure, because like I don't is Ross Cockrell our other corner right now?
Ross Cockrell is gone. I'm pretty sure it's Corn Elder.
Oh yeah, so yeah, any of these guys could probably they would definitely be able to at least compete for the job for sure in training camp. I think.
Yeah, they'll definitely start.
So you're saying Dante Jackson is simply he's one of the a slot cornerback is what it sounds like to me. He's very fast, but he's small. That's what it sounds like to me.
He's built like one, but he's going to have to be forced to play that outside corner spot because we don't have anyone else to plug in, which he can excel at, but he is more built like a slot corner, yes. Okay. Yeah, but Jalen Johnson's great though. So on the NFL rating, they actually gave him a 6.43, which is actually the highest rated out of all the ones that I was looking at for the second round. But I did say he did have a few mental lapses, but that's because I didn't study everyone else as excessively as I did him. So everyone else might have probably made those mistakes too. So another guy I want to look at too, and probably the last corner that I'll really touch on is Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama. Obviously, so brother Stephon Diggs for the Buffalo Bills. He's a bigger guy. He's 6'1", he's 205. So he was like the heaviest guy and the tallest guy that I was looking at. And he has a pretty decent rating, very similar to Jalen Johnson's, according to the NFL ratings that they give. Obviously, playing the SEC, phenomenal competition to play against. Had to play against LSU's freaking outstanding wide receiver core. Had to play against Joe Burrow. Had to play against all these amazing people. He seemed to really excel. Very good in the run game. Also had good ball skills, and he also plays with a very intense swagger to his game, it seems like. I'd be very excited to watch him too. I don't think he participated in any combine drills. I'm not 100% certain. I wasn't able to find a lot of the times and stuff on him. But he's about the last corner. Other corners to mention would be AJ Terrell from Clemson, Bryce Hall from Virginia. Obviously, being a Clemson guy, South Carolina is kind of like a right in the backyard kind of guy. But he's very good as well. I just didn't really dive into him as much just because I just didn't see him being picked by the Panthers as much when I was looking at all these other mock drafts and stuff. But he's definitely someone to keep an eye on too, along with Bryce Hall. I'd probably say the other really, really big position that we need right now is safety. Because we have Trey Boston right now, and I don't know who this. I think
is the starting.
The guy from the Browns, right?
Yes, he's from Cleveland. Yeah. He's solid, but he's a good run stopper. I don't see him being very good in a zone coverage safety spot, which strong safety is not really a zone
Yeah.
cover spot, but still.
Yeah, so this is actually where so my favorite out of all these guys, and the guy who I'd like to see us draft in the second round the most, and obviously too, this is tentative on the picks before us and stuff, because this DB class is so weird that I've seen a lot of these guys, like, they'll get ranked up as high as like getting drafted 16th, all the way being drafted like 40th or something like that. So no one really knows where a lot of these guys are going to go. And the safety class especially is very strange because it's kind of started off strong and people kind of started to shy away from talking about safeties and stuff in the draft. But the guy who I'd want the most would be Winfield Jr. from Minnesota. Absolutely phenomenal player. I've seen reports though that the Giants, it's almost like a lock that he will not get past them in the second round, which obviously they pick like 2 or 3 picks before the Panthers in the second round. However, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe they don't draft him then. I've seen reports that he gets picked in the first round, but I have seen him falling to the Panthers or after the Panthers in some mock drafts that I've been looking at. He is a son of a former Pro Bowler who used to play for the Minnesota Vikings. I watched his film. He was just very intriguing because he reminded me of Tyrann Mathieu in college. Now he didn't do the returning duties and stuff like that Tyrann Mathieu did that made him look so explosive and dynamic. But I mean, this is a guy last year who he had 7 interceptions, he had 3 sacks, he had 2 forced fumbles, and he had 62 solo tackles by himself playing safety. They dropped him down to play linebacker a few times. Whenever he blitzed, he just looked like he just shot out of a cannon and went straight to the quarterback, and the quarterback couldn't react to it. Like it was.
You could see the comparison because he's like a hybrid safety.
Exactly.
He can play
no,
corner. He can play that like outside linebacker. Yeah, that'd be a good pick.
He was great, and he's like also kind of a similar build. He's 5'9", he's 203, so he's shorter, but he's definitely still built. And he's a captain for their team. He's got a lot of leadership. Even though I believe I didn't really look into it, but I think he got injured. So he's technically a redshirt sophomore because I think he's been there for 4 years, but I think he got injured after his freshman year twice. So he played his freshman year, did very well, and then he got injured after playing a few games the sophomore season, then injured after playing a few games his junior season. I don't know if it was injury or if it was like they redshirted, but I'm at least by the fact that I think he played like 4 games in each of those seasons. He might get injured, but he came out and just under PJ Fleck just did phenomenal. Runs a 4.45 540. Phenomenal ball skills. I think even out of the corners and stuff, watching him play a ball, and that's obviously shown by the 7 picks that he had. Like I think he might have led the NCAA in interceptions. I know he did at one point during the season.
The look on Hunter's face after you said he got injured back to back, he kind of made him sad a little bit.
Look, I don't like Trey Boston, but I think he's a poor tackler and he isn't very good at anything he does. Granted, he has like the second most interceptions since 2015 or whatever, but I feel like he is at the right place at the right time most of all. But this guy you're saying, I think he would be a good fit at strong safety beside Boston because obviously the Panthers like Boston enough to sign him to a 3-year deal and keep him long term. But I do like him being side by side with Boston. I really do. I mean, they look like they'd be a good fit together. The leadership, Boston, I talk a lot of shit on him, but he does have good leadership. And them being paired together, that shows me. I think that'd be a little nice duo. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would be ecstatic to see because that's almost someone who I could see like he would end up almost when you reevaluate the draft after a year or two that someone would be like, oh yeah, he definitely should have been a first round pick because and I might be very wrong on this, but even Tyrann Mathieu endorsed him. He wants the Chiefs to draft him because they see the similarity, like he sees the similarities and stuff because he's just like he's just a ball hawk. He's got a nose for the ball. He can force fumbles. He can tackle. He can break up passes. He can intercept everything. He's just a great player. He's a good football player. He's athletic enough, but he's a great football player. It's just period.
I'm worried about those injuries. That's
the injuries are always scary, especially with.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, but so then I'll talk briefly about 2 other safeties. Not as extensively because Winfield is like the guy who I really want to see us draft him in the second round. But the 2 other safeties would be Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. This is also another guy that I've seen. He goes high as mid first round, all the way to like the second round. So I don't really know if we will even have a chance to touch him. He's a hard hitter. He's a phenomenal tackler. He'd definitely be a strong safety, which would be good with Trey Boston. He kind of reminds me of of Eric Reed a little bit in the sense that he's very, very physical. He's an extremely physical guy. He's about 6', 201. He ran a slower 40. Like he ran like it was like a 4.6 40, but he's extremely physical. Just watching all of the watching his highlight film and stuff, seeing him, he just blow up tight ends. Like guys that were way bigger than him just because he's just super aggressive. He did about like 19, 20 bench press reps at the combine. He's a very strong dude.
Pretty good for a back.
Yeah, no, he was phenomenal to watch. And then another guy too to keep an eye on. I don't know. Now he's one of the biggest question marks in the draft for a DB would be Kyle Duggar out of Lenore Ryan. Obviously D2, you don't really go back on McKinney, Alabama, great competition. That's goes without saying. But going back to Duggar, obviously being D2, the competition obviously is nowhere near. It's still good football, but it's nowhere near like Division I football, let alone any SEC prospect. But I watched some of his film, and he's a phenomenal player. Like, he does it all too. Like, he's a return man, and just watching his highlights, and he just looks like he's playing with little children out there. And it's not just because, like, yes, he's playing D2, but he's also a big guy too. Like, he's 6'1", 217. So he's actually like one of the tallest people that I've talked about, and he's the heaviest person. And he's just a beast. And he runs like I think he ran a 4.4 940. He's a very athletic guy. Like, I don't know why this guy went D2. Maybe he was undersized coming out of high school or something. Maybe he didn't have the grades. I don't know.
How's his zone coverage?
How's
his zone coverage? How's his coverage ability?
He's pretty decent. He's very good. He's got a nose for the ball as well, and he's very good at breaking up passes and all that kind of stuff. And his ability to break on balls is very, very good. He just, I mean, obviously when you're looking at like a D2 prospect or even like a Division I AA prospect, you're looking at someone who just completely dominates the competition because you can't just have someone who's like, yeah, they're good. Like, he completely dominated all of his competition, and he helped Lenore Ryan become one of the best D2, even though they've historically been one of the best D2 programs. He really helped propel them this year to become a good team. But he's definitely someone I'd want to watch too. He has a similar rating to pretty much all these guys have been talking about, according to NFL. But he's someone who, like, some people debate that he should be going in the second round. Some people think he should be picked as late as like the fourth round, just because he's a major question mark because he played D2 football. So I completely understand that, but he could be a huge steal depending on where he's drafted. He could just be he's a great player. He's a huge guy with absolutely outstanding athletic ability. Yeah, so that's like obviously another person to keep in mind is Grant Delpit from LSU, someone who was very highly rated early on in the college football season. A lot of people actually had the Panthers taking him 7, even as of like a few months ago. But he's kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit just because like he had a down year a little bit, but I mean he's still a dog. Like
look at the competition. He's facing Alabama, and they got 2 or 3 top receivers in the fucking SEC.
Yeah, and he's absolutely phenomenal though. Like, I mean, he does all his other things too. Like, he's a good tackler. He's good in coverage and everything. He gets sacks. He's a great player. He just kind of fell off the earth just because, you know, it might have been probably because of the competition he was playing, but you know, you got to step up to the plate even those big moments so you can show to NFL scouts and stuff like that you're actually able to play at that level. But he's a great guy too. Like, I mean, there's something to be said that he was one of the best players in college football. Like the year before this, like a lot of people said that he was like one of the better defensive players. So, you know, might have had a down year, but obviously he's shown potential to be – he could be, like, literally like worthy of a top 10 pick almost when you look later on, like, down the line and stuff because he once was rated as such.
Okay.
Well, what's cool is it sounds like there's a lot of options all in y'all's second-round pick wheelhouse.
Right.
I don't know how many picks y'all have or what number pick y'all have, but the way it sounds is like you guys – unless – they completely screw something up. It sounds like you guys get at least one of those cornerbacks or safeties. And honestly, to me, I think you said 3 or 4 of them were at least 6 feet tall. A couple of them 6'1". So the size is really awesome.
Yeah, that's really great. And then you just want to touch on Cole Kmet at Notre Dame, tight end. If that's an option we choose, route we choose to go in the second round. I've seen him getting drafted in the third round as well. He's a phenomenal player. I think he could be the next like big tight end in the NFL, as in like not obviously maybe right off the bat, but like a George Kittle or like a Travis Kelce. He's 6'6". I think he's like 250 something or two. Like he's a big boy, He's really good too. He seems to be very aggressive with He seems like and I hate to say this because it might be recency bias, but he seems like the opposite of Olsen in a sense of Olsen always tried to, for career preservation purposes, probably would kind of just get out of bounds or get down. Komet seems like he's a guy that he just wants to run you over, which, like I said, might be recency bias. Olsen probably just ran people over early on in his career. But he's a big physical guy. He's developing a little bit as a run blocker, but he's a great receiving tight end. And then later rounds, like, I think Thad Moss will be a good fit. Obviously, a lot of people may or may not know this, but he's from Charlotte. Randy Moss actually lives in Charlotte currently, and Thad Moss attended Mallard Creek. And then he went to NC State before he transferred to LSU. Great guy. A lot of people say that he has the best hands out of any tight end in this class. Had a great year with Joe Burrow as quarterback, but, was the success because of how good he was, or was it because of how good of a year Joe Burrow was having? I guess we'll wait and see until he gets in the NFL. And then one more late round pick that would be, he might end up being a game changer, would be Kenny Robinson out of the XFL, playing for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Got a little bit of trouble in college, chose to go to the XFL, excelled in the XFL. And I just want to talk about him too, because obviously the XFL just suspended their operations, but hopefully somehow they figure out how to get that thing back, because that was almost about to start providing an alternative route to the NFL that could allow people to make a little bit of money and still have those draft hopes and stuff like that. But he's also a guy to watch too. He was good in college. He was great in the XFL, and he could be like a good third, like a day 3 steal possibly. That he could be a decent safety, maybe back up for like a year or two, but he could probably figure some things out pretty quickly.
Okay. So in a nutshell, I got really redneck right there. In a nutshell, you have the Panthers taking a corner in the second round, probably a safety in the third, or the tight end.
Or they could be interchangeable. It kind of depends on who's there.
So who would you want? What do you think the tight end's going to fall to, third or fourth? Because I was really thinking a tight end in this draft since it's so deep.
I could say I'd be very comfortable drafting Cole Kmet either in the second or third round, or if we want to wait if you want to address those DB needs early, Thad Moss would probably be great. I've seen him go a lot in the 4th round or the 5th round. I think he'd be a great addition there. So, and I would say those safeties and those corners are pretty interchangeable in round 2 and 3, and I would probably prefer to see us go there unless a lot of these guys are already off the board because, like I said, it's a very weird year with safeties and corners. They could go in the first – a lot of these guys could go in the first round, like late to mid-late first round. We don't know.
That's fine.
So if those guys get off the board, I would love to see us draft Cole Kmet. But, yeah.
If they do go first round, I see us drafting a lineman in the second round because a lot of these linemen, offensive-wise, are getting drafted first round, apparently. But, yeah, I would like to see that. Are you like me on doubling up on a corner? Because I don't think Cornelder is going to be the spot at nickel. I don't think he's going to be the guy at nickel. So do you think doubling up on a corner and trying to get a slot corner?
Yeah, that wouldn't be an awful idea. Do we still have Javian Elliott?
Don't think so.
Okay, because he actually wasn't that bad. He was actually known for being a pretty good slot corner when he played in Tampa the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know if I'd pick him in back-to-back rounds, but I'd be very comfortable picking one in like either the second round in the 5th round or like the 3rd round in the 5th round. Just like making one of them a day 2 selection, one of them a day 3 selection. That'd be great. Obviously, unless like something weird happens, and let's say like Isaiah Simmons gets drafted and like Okudah falls and we can get Okudah. Obviously, we just make that a first-round pick. A lot of this is obviously tentative on the first round because, if we don't draft Derek Brown, then maybe the 2nd, 3rd-round pick has to be a defensive tackle like a Ross Blacklock from TCU or Roquan Davis from Alabama. There's a lot of great tackles in this, like defensive tackles in this draft too. So obviously, all of this is tentative on the first round. But even though I think at this current moment, the way that everything's going to fall and line up, it's probably going to be Derek Brown because I would not be surprised to see Gettleman draft Isaiah Simmons at 4, even though I would love Isaiah Simmons so much. And I think he's not going to make it past the Lions. So I really see us drafting Derek Brown or trading back and getting Ken Law from South Carolina. So this is just based off of this. What I mentioned is based off of us drafting a defensive tackle in the first round.
Gotcha.
Which I think is the most likely scenario to happen because of the needs and the wants of the people in front of us.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Very
Hopefully it works out for the fucking Panthers because I am very shaky on this next season, and I have zero hopes that we will be a successful team this year. Not gonna lie. So I might be the only Panther fan that thinks that.
You're overreacting.
Oh
You'll be
well.
fine.
Just hope for 2 wins, and then you will not be disappointed. Probably.
2 wins is
Right.
fine with me. I'm good
Hey,
at 2 wins.
think
Hope
Dolphins, Hunter. Think last year's Dolphins.
Well,
You
the
gotta have
thing
that
is,
mentality.
and we talked about this with John the last episode. They're not tanking, getting rid of every single player on this roster. They're not tanking, but they're in a win now mode. It makes no sense to me, and I don't know how they're going to figure it out. But next year, free agency, we better be going big because we're going to have a lot of fucking money come next year.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna have like one of the top 5 like most cap spaces or whatever next year. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Our dead cap is fucking huge right now.
Well, yeah, I think we're above the second place person dead cap by like double the amount almost.
It's huge.
So that'll be interesting to see. But I will say this: I trust Tepper. A lot of people are bashing Tepper for what he's been doing. I think he's a visionary. I think he's a man with a plan. He understands that sometimes you have to knock out the foundations to rebuild it back up the way that you want it.
Yep.
He was in Pittsburgh. He knows what it looks like to be a part of a winning franchise. I completely trust him. I'm on Hurney. He's done some really good things in the past and some really bad things in the past. And I do trust Coach Matt Rule to come in and be like that guy that Tepper wants him to be, where he's around for 7, 10 plus years or so, just building this team. He's been proven in the past to build programs up that it might have fallen down in the past, like Temple, and he resurrected Baylor from the depths of college football and brought them back into greatness. So I'm going to maybe this next year is rocky, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions after this next year. I'm going to give it like 2, maybe 3 seasons to start to see some stuff going, like starting to move forward and everything. Because I do fully trust Tepper and Coach Rule first, like a lot, and also with the addition of Joe Brady as offensive coordinator. Even though I wouldn't be shocked to see him leave in 2 or 3 years, maybe for a better job, because I think he'll have great success in the NFL. He's a great offensive mind, but I'm gonna hope for wins this year. I think we can do it though, because like I said, we were a good quarterback away from having a very good offense last year. We gotta draft defense and maybe get another offensive lineman. And I'm just gonna take one out of Joel Embiid's book. I'm just gonna trust the process that Matt Rule and Tepper have in mind, and just kind of sit back and wait for it to happen. And then I'll start to complain about it in a few years if it goes bad.
Hopefully it doesn't go bad, but we'll see.
Trust the process, Hunter.
We'll see. I mean, I trust Coach Rule and I trust David Tepper. It's everybody else I'm worried about, especially with this roster I have laying in front of me right now. I don't know, but I'll trust the process, and I do like the fact that the team building factors coming into play. So,
and I like we have McCaffrey now for 4 years, even though there is research to suggest that was not a smart move. But I'm going to say what all these other people said in the past. McCaffrey's different, just like how people said Le'Veon Bell's different, and how people said David Johnson's different. But trust me, Christian McCaffrey is different.
McCaffrey is different. Period.
I think that was a good move, even though a lot of people. I do see the research behind not signing a running back to a huge salary, but I think Christian McCaffrey is running back of this franchise.
You're not looking at it. He could not play running back at all anymore and still be successful as a receiver. He's that different. So I like the deal, and I like the move with McCaffrey.
Should I get a really quick question? Should I get a McCaffrey jersey? And I'm gonna preface this with I'm scared because the new jerseys, like with the new logo and stuff, I've only actually purchased 2. And one's a Thomas Davis jersey and one's a Cam Newton jersey. So I'm a little bit scared that it's kind of like whenever I buy a jersey, they just
Kanyon, sometimes it's just jerseys are off limits for people, and I think that applies to you greatly.
That's true.
Didn't you buy a Brady jersey not too long, like last year, Nick?
Do what?
No. I know. See, I have retired players jersey. I got a Teddy Bruschi jersey, okay? That way there's no risk involved.
Luke Kuechly might be a good jersey.
There you go.
Kanyon,
yeah.
Every time you go to a Panthers game, you don't wear any Panther gear just because you think it's a jinx. So I would recommend staying away from a Panthers jersey.
I wear an undershirt that has Panthers stuff on it.
Well, it's
Wow,
not showing.
I didn't know you were like that. All right.
I just want something to where I go to training camp and I can just be like, hey, look, I have your jersey. You should totally come sign my jersey so I can hang it up in my man cave later on in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that. Just don't wear it. Hopefully that player sticks around. Hopefully McCaffrey stays around for a while if you want a McCaffrey jersey. But if you jinx it, I'm blaming it on you.
I think I might wait until after the draft to see if we don't trade him, even though it'd be really dumb. And I've only seen a few reports on that, and it's just probably bullcrap. But I've seen a few things like, oh yeah, they just did that so they can trade him. I'm like, I don't think so. But I will wait until after the draft if I actually do get his jersey. If I feel comfortable enough with that, doesn't mean I just signed his death sentence to leave the Panthers.
Johnny, man, go retired. Go Steve Smith. Go Peppers.
That's a good one. Steve
go
Smith.
Delhomme.
Jordan Gross.
Get Kuechly now.
Jordan Gross. That's my girlfriend's name. Is Jordan Gross. So maybe I'd buy that jersey for her.
There you go. That's it.
Do it. All right, Kanyon. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. The analysis of the draft was far beyond what I could do and what Nick could do.
Yeah.
So that was phenomenal.
Well, Mel Kiper in you.
I will look for you to be
so I'm get all of them wrong.
Yeah.
I will look for you to be a scout in the NFL sometime soon.
That's the dream, but probably accounting. But
That's good too.
Well, when I become a general manager at one point, you can be my number 2 in the scouting department, my director of pro scouting, because you can fucking handle that shit. That's a lot.
I can go to the Bills if you're like a Panthers GM. I can just go to the Bills like in a few years.
Well, yeah, go right ahead. I mean, Sean McDermott picks nothing but Panther people anyway, so go right ahead.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Kanyon, for joining us, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Extra Point. We are joined with Jakob. How are you doing today, Jakob?
I'm feeling great. Woke up today at 3 o'clock.
Very good.
Things are going good.
That is great to hear. I'm glad you got a lot of sleep.
You're very
Probably
lazy.
went to bed at like fucking 7 p.m. or 7 a.m., but it's all right. Here we are. We're going to talk about the Christian McCaffrey deal. Groundbreaking in the world of sports.
It's all
He
like
is
that,
the highest paid running back in NFL history, and it is 2020, and this is a white guy. Who would have fucking thought? Am I right? I'm right.
It's a good point.
White guy is the highest paid running back in the NFL. That's shocking to me.
Good point.
So we'll be talking about that deal along with ranking our top 5 running backs in the NFL, going off of last year, going off of this year, just in general, best running backs in the NFL right now. We'll each be giving our list and debating on it. So without further ado, Jakob, Cardinal fan, you have Kenyon Drake. What do you think about this McCaffrey deal?
Well, I got to tell you, I was surprised. I was very surprised when I heard about this. I didn't even think the Panthers had it in them. I didn't think they had the money for it. I don't even know how they were able to pull this off, honestly.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you they don't have the money for
They
this.
officially don't have money for anything else after that.
This year, they have zero money. I didn't even think they had enough money. I don't think he's probably going to get paid a lot this coming year. It's the next year he's going to get paid. So I've said it in the past, the dead cap space that the Panthers have is fucking ridiculous. And next year, they're going to be loaded.
Yeah.
This year, they have fucking nothing. So, yeah, it surprised me too, considering he has another year left on his contract. So he's employed with the Panthers to 2025. It's fucking crazy. And there's talks about him getting traded, as we discussed with Kanyon earlier. I don't see that happening. I saw it could have happened before this deal, but now that it's solidified, I don't think he's getting traded. What do you think about it all, Nick?
Well, for one, if they were to trade him, then we can officially call it a rebuild because that is the sole offense right now.
Yeah.
Is that person alone. One man literally runs and receives that offense.
Well, he can throw too. So
yeah, you're damn right. Yeah.
Emergency quarterback.
I texted you after the news came out, and I was like, they could have added like 2 or 3, because unless he gets hurt, let's hope he doesn't get hurt. He's what, 23 years old?
Yep.
He'll still be 28 years old. So
28.
he could be 29, whatever it is, 5 years from now. I don't know when his birthday is or anything, but he'll still be less than 30 years old. That he can still be a prime running back. They should have went at least another 2 years. Should have gone 6 years. That's what I think. A solid 6 year. On top of this one, that's 7. That'd take him to 30. I think that's what they should have done.
Well, you
Instead
know
of
how I
kinda-
don't like injuries, and you can't predict injuries. And for running backs, they get injured a lot. So, and not to
Yeah.
mention, the older a running back gets, every year counts. I think like by 28, they're starting to see a downfall. I'm not 100% sure on the analytics behind that,
Okay.
but
Well, explain Barry Sanders. Look, this is like a one of a kind. Okay, but we
retired
can compare him to Barry Sanders in the next few years, I guarantee.
he retired
can-
early too.
He retired at like 29, 30. He led the league in rushing and then split. Assuming he doesn't do that or he doesn't get hurt, another couple of years wouldn't have been a big deal. So now they risk, they got, the way I see it, they got 5 years to get back to championship level, because if he goes after that contract, that's it. It's over.
So Jacob, do you like the deal?
I mean, that much money for 4 years? I'm not sure.
I said.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it in this way. So a lot of people were dogging on the deal just because you look in the past, Le'Veon Bell got paid a fuck ton of money. Todd Gurley got paid a fuck ton. Ezekiel Elliott just got paid the biggest contract before McCaffrey, and everybody was like, holy shit, these running backs are going to make it till 3 years of their 5-year contract that they just signed and be complete shit. McCaffrey doesn't even have to run the ball as a running back, and he could still be successful in this league. He could be one of the best. He could be one of the best slot receivers in the NFL as a running back on a depth chart.
Probably.
He doesn't have to run the ball in a running back position to be successful. He could be a fucking receiver. So you're paying a guy wide receiver salary to play 2 positions. That's the way I look at it. It makes sense to me, considering you have the best slot receiver and best running back in the NFL on your combined on your team.
So Jacob, you have a problem with how much he's getting paid?
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I feel like the Panthers are in that rebuild stage, and yeah, Christian McCaffrey is the sole offense there. He's probably the only good player on the whole team, and yeah, they got to keep him. But like Hunter said, if one thing goes wrong, he gets injured one time, it's over. I mean, we've seen that with countless other players before. They get paid these huge contracts, they get injured, and then it's just downhill from there.
Right, but doesn't that apply to any player that's ever got a decent contract ever?
I mean, yeah, but this is like a huge. This is huge.
Yeah. And I can see where he's coming from. It's a running back. It's just running backs are a fucking risk. I mean, I get it. But then again, it's McCaffrey, and he could play 2 positions. Shit, he could probably play fucking quarterback. I wouldn't doubt it.
Probably could. He's probably got a damn cannon, 65-yard bombs.
Probably. So, Nick, do you like the deal in general for the Panthers moving forward?
For the Panthers, it's great for the next 5 years. It wasn't a big deal that they didn't get the extra couple years. If I could have made an improvement, that's what I'd have worked on as another 2 years maybe on top of it. But it's a good deal because, I mean, he's the team now. Cam's gone, Kuechly's gone, Olsen's gone. McCaffrey is going to be the face of Charlotte, basically. That's what it's going to be. So
let's just pray he doesn't get hurt. I'm worried. All right, we're going to move on to ranking our top 5 running backs in the NFL. Jacob, let's hear your number 1 running back, and it should be all of ours. Go right ahead.
Obviously, Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey,
and we just fucking talked about it. He's the whole entire offense. He is the bomb, the man. Fucking Christian McCaffrey, best running back in football. Number 2, Jacob. Number 2, and back it up with some facts. Why you think he's number 2?
I'm going to have to go with Derrick Henry, number 2.
All right.
Simply for the reason he is probably the most dominant running back in the NFL. When I see him run, I see a freight train. I see an absolute monster. Probably the best stiff arm I've ever seen. Let me tell you, I've never seen a more better arm on a man in my life.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's interesting. On a running back, you mean, right? Because there's some big guys out there.
Right.
Okay. Well, I like Derrick Henry, and he is my number 3, but my number 2 is going to be the old Saquon Barkley. He got hurt last year for 3 or 4 games, but he's still a fucking beast. We forgot what he did his rookie year, dominated the NFL, and he's still a dominant running back. He's sitting out here doing McCaffrey-like juke spins with a horrid offensive line, just like Christian McCaffrey's. But he's also got some fucking strength on him. He is considered a power back just because he is that fucking strong. He can run you over. He can juke you out. He is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. And I'm going to put him at number 2 right behind McCaffrey, and they are neck and neck, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Hunter. It was, I mean, you can almost flip a coin. We've talked about it before. I mean, he's so good. And he can just do it all. He's just, him and McCaffrey are basically the same. They're just, they're just different people. I mean, he's a little bit bigger, but him and McCaffrey have the same ability to break tackles, both physically or they can finesse and juke someone out. They both have breakaway speed. They both receive the ball well. Then McCaffrey's first because he has, a little more receiving stats.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, it's a close second for Saquon on my list.
All right, so Jacob, what's your third best running back? Let's hear it.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley, like you guys said.
Mhm.
He did have a good year last year. This year did get injured, but I mean he was still doing good. His stats are solid, so I guess I'll put him at 3.
All right, yeah. You're number 2. I'm going to put it my number 3, like I just said earlier. Derrick Henry, you hit it. Fucking nail on the head is what the saying is. I don't know if it is, but whatever. We're going to go with it. Yeah, he's a power back. I don't know about being the best biceps I've ever seen, but he is a true fucking power back. Runs you over, 5.1 yards a carry, 300 attempts. Granted, he does have the best offensive line in football, or he does
Bingo.
now. Last year he had the second best behind
And
Ezekiel
the year
Elliott.
before that, he had the
But-
first best.
Right. But I'm still going to put him at number 3 just because he is that dominant. This man gets hit at the 1-yard line or at the line of scrimmage every single fucking down, and he still averages 5 yards after contact. The only thing I don't like about him, he had 5 fumbles last year, which is a relatively good bit. But he's that guy, and I'm going to put him at number 3. What about you, Nicholas?
Well, Derrick Henry's not on my top 5. Sincerest apologies, but the guy literally, and this is every single time. Yeah, he gets big runs for 70 yards or whatever, 90 yards, and breaks tackles in open field, and he's powerful. But dude, there's a hole every single time he touches the football. I mean, an average Joe on him. There's high school running backs that can honestly get 4 yards a carry on the Titans. Let's be honest. I mean, there's a hole every time. With that offensive line, they are far and away the best ranked offensive line is far-fetched to me. I think they rank number 1 in run because they are. But, yeah, to me, he's got such a good offensive line, it's hard not to be good. So he's not even in my top 5. I mean, he's solid, but he's not my top 5. You guys both forgot about Alvin Kamara for some reason, who had an off year. Still had several touchdowns, both receiving and rushing, and had over 1,000 yards. He probably pushed 1,500 or so all-purpose yards, if not more than that. So Alvin Kamara is going to come back this year. Latavius Murray, that show's over, man. It's going to be the Kamara show again, and he's going to be back on like an all-pro level with McCaffrey and Saquon like he was the year before.
Okay.
So he's
The
number
only
3.
thing I don't like with Alvin Kamara, he's good with fantasy. He's good in a receiving back position, but I feel you can't utilize him in as many schemes as you can with Saquon, Chris McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. Probably him and Derrick Henry's probably the same. Derrick Henry is only used in a power run West Coast scheme, and Alvin Kamara is a spread type offense with an elusive running back position. I mean, I don't know. I would rather take Derrick Henry over Alvin Kamara, honestly. I mean, he's a good running back. He can receive the ball too, but I don't know. I like Derrick
You
Henry.
must not watch those Panthers Saints games, man, because this guy is elusive in the backfield now.
Okay. They're also
He's
running
weak.
they're also running a 3-4, and they have the worst run defense in the NFL.
I'm just saying, y'all ain't watching this Alvin Kamara play or something, dude. The guy's a monster. I don't know why y'all are.
Well, he's
Skipping
weak as
out on
shit too. I mean, he's a good running back,
He's
but
not weak.
he's also
He's
small.
not ripped, but he's not
He's
weak.
small. He don't break tackles.
Yeah, he does.
He jukes the shit out of them, but he doesn't break any.
He sure as hell does. Y'all ain't watching this man play.
I don't see it. I watch him play 2 times a year, and
Oh,
I see
well, that makes
results.
sense.
Him and Latavius. Oh my God, it's a fuck show when they play in Carolina.
Anyway,
Let's move
Kamara's
on to
my
number
third, and I
4.
thought it was a pretty easy choice.
It's a good fourth. Third. I'll give you that. Jacob, who's your 4th running back?
Well, going off of what I just said with the last pick, I'm going to have to go with Dalvin Cook from the Vikings.
Okay.
That man is insane, just like Derrick Henry. I'd say they're very similar, but when I see Dalvin Cook run, it's just as dominant and explosive. It's insane.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook's not in my top 5, but I see what you're saying when it comes to elusiveness and explosiveness. But my 4th running back is going to be Nick Chubb, second rushing yards last season. I mean, granted, we saw how big of a failure that offense was and that coaching staff was.
Wasn't his fault.
Whose?
It wasn't Nick Chubb's
Oh,
fault.
no,
bro.
no. It was the coach. It was all the coach. So Nick Chubb was that offense, though. Let's be real. Fucking shit. I can't talk. What's his name? Quarterback? Holy fuck. Baker Mayfield was a fucking failure. I don't blame it on him. Like I said, I blame it on the offensive coordinator and the head coach. But when it came to running the ball, it was all Nick Chubb. When it came to offense in general, it was all Nick Chubb with an average offensive line. I mean, he is like Dalvin Cook. He's like Saquon Barkley, not as good, but he is a all-around good back. I mean, he can do it all. Even receiving the ball, he's good. He's a check down guy too. I mean, I would put Nick Chubb at number 4, right behind Derrick Henry. And I mean, you can see it. Average offensive line, second in rushing yards. I have him at number 4. What about you, Nick?
Number 4 for me, I'm going Chris Carson from the Seahawks. God, they had they're 1, 2, and 3 running backs who were all having good seasons last year. All 3 go down. Was that right? In like consecutive weeks. So that sucks, but they've been the number 1 rushing team the last 3 seasons. Yeah. Maybe last year was 4. I don't know. 3 or 4 seasons in a row after the departure of Marshawn Lynch, led by Chris Carson. The guy is you talk about it. He reminds me of Nick Chubb. He really does. He doesn't receive the ball all that well, but they don't really have a bunch of, that's not that type of scheme. They don't have a receiving back on their roster. Pete Carroll never has, never will. He is a true power back. He's really explosive. And he's the guy that literally can get 40 carries a game and what will be a 17-game season now and not miss a beat. Right. So I love the way he runs football. I love watching Seahawks so I can watch Chris Carson. He's honestly a monster. And let's take in mind, they don't have the best offensive line. If it weren't for Russell Wilson as their quarterback, they'd probably lead the league in sacks given up, to be honest with you. So they don't have a great offensive line, and he does some damn work. And he takes the load off one of the best quarterbacks in football and allows him to be better. So he is a great running back. I think he's underrated, and he's in my top 5.
I do like that underrated pick. That was a really good pick, and you nailed it. The only thing I don't like about Chris Carson last year, and it was just last year thing, he did struggle holding on to the football. I just talked about Derrick Henry.
He did.
Fumbling it 5 times. He fumbled at 6. But it is a good pick, and you're right about the offensive rushing as a team the past couple of years because they've killed it.
Wasn't he injured, though?
5. I think he did get injured.
He got injured late in the season, and the same game, his backup got injured, and then the next game, the third string got injured, and that pretty much ended that whole playoff run.
Yeah. All right. Who is your number 5, Jacob?
All right, so some people might think that I'm being a little biased here. All right, I can understand that, but I just want to tell y'all a story about the guy that I'm choosing. It's Kanyon Drake. Okay. All right, so let me tell you a story. All right, Arizona Cardinals, about midway through the season, lose David Johnson, they lose Chase Edmonds, and they need a running back, right? So the Cardinals turn to this guy named Kanyon Drake. All right, terrible in Miami. You know, he was probably the only good thing in Miami, but he wasn't doing too hot down there. He felt underutilized. Well, the Cardinals pick him up, and let me tell you, he has about a day, maybe a day and a half to train and learn the playbook and get into the rhythm of the Cardinals scheme, right? He comes in against the 49ers, gets 2 touchdowns, and I want to say it was about 300, 200 yards that game. Comes in with just a day and a half, pops off. And then not to mention, through the whole rest of the season, he gets very close to 1,000 yards. I think he finished the season with 600, maybe 800 yards.
643.
Yeah, like that's just insane for only playing about 5 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Out of the top 10 running backs, actually, if I'm looking through this list, out of all the running backs, not counting Lamar Jackson, he got the highest average per run at 5.2. So, yeah. Well, I do like Kanyon Drake. I do like that selection. I wouldn't put him in my top 5 just because it was so late in the year he finally shined, even though he has the ability to be top 5. I know I drafted him for my fantasy team, and I wanted to trade him from week 1 all the way to the fucking right before the playoffs just because I had him on my bench the whole year. He never did anything in Miami. But thank God I didn't because of him, I went to the playoffs and went on like a 5-game win streak and solidified my wild card position and lost. So
he's like a wild card.
He is. He's a good running back. I don't mind him. He was good in Miami. They just never fucking used him. And my fantasy team showed I can fucking prove it to you. But I do like the Kanyon Drake. I would not put him in my top 5 just because I said it was so late in the season. Who I have at my number 5 is a rookie in Josh Jacobs. This running back is a fucking star. He gets 242 attempts last year, 60 behind Nick Chubb, 60 behind Derrick Henry, 40 behind Christian McCaffrey, 60 behind Ezekiel Elliott, 30 behind Chris Carson, and he's still 3rd in rushing, averaging 4.8 yards a carry. He only got 7 touchdowns because they never fucking used him on the goal line. And do the Raiders have a good offensive line last year? Hell to the fucking no. Derek Carr getting sacked 50+ fucking times in a damn season for 2 seasons in a row. This year they finally have a good offensive line, finally. And Josh Jacobs is coming back as a sophomore. I'm telling you, with this new rejuvenated offensive line, and I'm pretty sure they're going to change up the play style with Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr, working a lot with Derek Carr in the offseason. Josh Jacobs is coming back a brand new running back, and he's going to be a fucking beast. Watch it.
That's solid. That's a solid. That's
underrated pick.
The numbers from his rookie year pretty much speak for themselves.
Should have been rookie of the year, but whatever.
Definitely not.
Slow down. Anyway, my top 5 is another guy that kind of came out of nowhere last year. Actually, the tail end of the previous season, he got some attention. But Aaron Jones was a fucking monster last year. He's very similar to Kamara. I don't care how weak he is. We don't all love we don't all love the guys with the big arms, Jacob. But Aaron Jones is a great receiving back. I'm pretty sure he was one of the top players in overall touchdowns behind Chris McCaffrey, I think.
I think he led.
Did he end up past McCaffrey?
Pretty sure he did, yeah.
That speaks for himself. The guys, what is it, Cowboys, right? Meeting in Dallas, 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's 2 or 3 receiving, 2 or 3 rushing. He's explosive. He's fast. he's just like Kamara to me, but he's even a better receiver. I mean, this guy is really good. And I bet he'll be another All-Pro level again next year, assuming, we'll see. We'll see how Aaron's doing. We'll talk about this another time, but I got a prediction for Aaron Rodgers that a lot of people won't like. But yeah, Aaron Jones is underrated, and he is my top 5. That was hard though. There's a lot of good top 5s. I don't think Kenyon Drake's top 5. To be honest, Jacob. Josh Jacobs, to the numbers from last year, a pretty respectable top 5.
That's my boy.
Oh, come on.
That's my boy.
Are you really saying Josh Jacobs is better than Kenyon Drake?
How long is Kenyon?
Yes.
Look, how long? He is.
Jacob.
Oh, come on. And you want to talk about offensive lines? We're in top 3 offensive line, maybe number 1. And he did that.
You mean worst offensive lines?
Yeah, top number 1 worst offensive line.
Oh, okay.
Arizona
Cardinals.
You're making it the other way around.
I mean, yes, Christian McCaffrey. So the Panthers, the Giants with Saquon, the Raiders with Josh Jacobs, Seattle with Chris Carson, and yeah, the Cardinals. They all have the worst offensive lines in football by fucking far. Them 5 right there.
Yeah.
So, and granted, every single fucking team with a bad offensive line has the best running back. So yeah, Kenyon Drake, I'd put him in a top 10. I don't think he's better than Josh Jacobs.
Maybe.
Oh, come on.
I don't.
Josh Jacobs is young. He's so young.
Exactly. And he got, 1,300 yards and almost 5 yards per carry?
Josh Jacobs, 4.8 a carry, granted, and he had 60 less attempts than the first 2 running backs and still had 1,150 yards. The only thing I don't like about him was the touchdowns, and that's because they never fucking ran it in the red zone, ever.
Okay, I thought you about it. I was about to say, John Gruden, is a tough-nosed coach. He's always running the ball, which is something Cliff Kingsbury doesn't do.
Well, exactly. Well,
look,
the last 4 games.
Coach is probably the worst in football, just like overall, not like NFL, college, high school, junior high, youth football league. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is the worst coach
I've ever seen
in football ever.
Okay.
Maybe not.
We'll see what happens when he gets D-Hop, which he did.
Play caller. He might as well be a Freddie Kitchens when it comes to play calling.
Oh, come on.
I said it. Cliff Kingsbury, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but you need to step your shit up when it comes to play calling, because I watched a lot of games and I was pissed 80% of the time. I mean, it was fucking.
You probably watched the start of the season.
I had Kenyon Drake and I had fucking Kyler Murray on my football team, and I was so upset every fucking game, besides like the last 3, because Kenyon Drake saved my ass. Not Kyler Murray, because they never fucking threw the ball, or if they did, he had 40 attempts for 2.5 yards a throw, an attempt. It's first and 10, second and 8, third and 6, punt. That was every damn series for the Cardinals. Annoyed the shit out of me.
All right, well, you want to talk about this year, but how about we talk about next year, though, the excitement, the things we can build on for next year, because I feel like we're really going to explode next year.
It's
Cliff
exciting.
Kingsbury right now is D-Hop. I mean, we can do so much more.
I'm sure he won't use D-Hop correctly, just like he didn't use his whole fucking offense correctly. So great roster.
We are literally drafting linemen.
Great roster, good offense. Horrible fucking play caller. Oh my God. I'm not even kidding. But it's all right. We'll see how it pans out. Running backs, good lists on all 3 point of views. Drop your top 5 running list in the comments below. And if you want to be on the show, let us know. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you want to do, message us. Nick, you got anything?
No, I just want to thank Jacob for coming on, and thank Kanyon for coming on earlier. It's always a pleasure, Jacob. We really enjoy your stories are tremendous. I loved the story about Kenyon Drake. It was great.
It's a myth, according to some.
It's a myth.
Well, Arizona's got a good thing cooking. It is a Steve Keim primetime kind of season for him. So I love it. Thank you for joining us, Jacob and Kanyon. I appreciate it. And thank you all for watching episode 44 of The Extra Point. And we will catch you later.